In the series of stories of superhit films shown on Khabar Tak, the new link of the story that I have brought before you today is the story of film The Guide. This film was brought on the silver screen in 1965, and this was one of the most grossing film of that year. Vijay Anand had directed this film, and the lead role in this film were played by Dev Anand and Wahida Rahman, whereas Leela Chitnis and Suresh Sahu played the character role in this film. This was the only film that brought all the 5 prestigious Filmfare Awards of a year, including the best film, the best director, the best actor, the best actress, and the best music director. This film included many classical, beautiful dance scene and melodious song as well. The music director of this film was S.D. Burman, and the voiceover in the song of this film were given by Lata Mangeshkar, Mohammad Rafi, Manna Dey, and S.D. Burman. The first few lines of some of prominent song of this film I am humming for your amusement. हो कांटों से चीर के ये आंचल, तोड़ के बंधन बांधे पायल, हो कोई ना रोको दिल के उड़ान को, दिल वो चला आज फिर जीने की तमन्ना है, आज फिर मरने का इरादा है, आज फिर जीने की तमन्ना है, आज फिर मरने का इरादा है। गाता रहे मेरा दिल, तू ही मेरी मंजिल हो, कहीं बीते ना ये रातें, कहीं बीते ना ये दिन, कहीं बीते ना ये रातें, कहीं बीते ना ये दिन। दिन ढल जाए हाय, रात न जाए, तू तो न आई, तेरी याद सताए, दिन ढल जाए हाय। क्या से क्या हो गया बेवफा तेरे प्यार में, चाहा क्या क्या मिला बेवफा तेरे प्यार में। पिया तो से नैना लागे रे, नैना लागे रे, जाने क्या हो अब आगे रे। पिया तो से नैना लागे रे, पिया तो से नैना लागे रे। मुँह से छल किए जाए, हाय रे हाय 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 सैया बेईमान। मुँह से छल, मुँह से छल, मुँह से छल किए जाए, हाय रे हाय हाय सैया बेईमान। तेरे मेरे रूप में अब एक रंग है, जहाँ भी ले जाए राहें हम एक संग हैं। तेरे मेरे रूप में अब एक रंग है, वहाँ कौन है तेरा मुसाफिर, जाएगा कहाँ दम ले ले, दम ले ले घड़ी भर ये छया पाएगा कहाँ, वहाँ कौन है तेरा मुसाफिर जाएगा कहाँ, वहाँ कौन है तेरा. Now listen to the entire story of film The Guide. The story of the film Guide begins with a prison scene. Raju, a famous guide from Udaipur, played by Dev Anand, is released from prison after serving his sentence. Upon leaving prison, he gazes at the hometown Udaipur with astonishment. It is the city that brought him both fame and infamy. The fame that even foreigners knew him as a guide, and the infamy was so severe that he lost his mother, friends, and even his job as a guide. He then decides to leave the city and find something new to do. He wanders aimlessly. Then one day, when he sees a group of hermits passing by, he joins them. At night falls, this group of hermits rest for the night in an old deserted temple near a village. In the morning, they rise and head for their next drapes his saffron-colored spring blanket over him. The next day, when Bola, played by Jangan Jagirdar, passes by an ancient temple at the edge of the village, he sees Raju sleeping under a saffron shawl in the temple, which has long been without a priest, and mistakes him for a great scholar. Addressing Raju as Swamiji, he prays for relief from the suffering. Raju, describing it as destiny for humans to experience various hardships from birth to death, followed by bliss after the suffering ends, tells Bola that he cannot provide any financial or other resources for his suffering. Hearing this, Bola, recognizing Swamiji as more accomplished man, reveals that the source of his troubles is his step-sister. He has arranged her marriage, but she is now flatly refusing to marry him. Raju once again asserts that he is an ordinary person and asks Bhola to bring his sister. Bhola, telling his sister about a Siddha Swamiji's visit to the temple, bring her to Swamiji. The next day, Raju explains that while her step brother currently takes care of her, this won't always be possible due to various reasons. However, if she gets married, her husband and children will always be available to care for her. When Bhola's sister, following Swamiji's advice, marries Bhola, praising Swamiji throughout the village, people now come to Raju or Swamiji for relief from their troubles. The local priest who cheats people in the name of performing rituals is jealous of Swamiji's fame. One day, when the villagers are paying special respects to Swamiji, the two pandits arrive and ask Swamiji or Raju to explain the meaning of a verse from Upanishads, Punya idam punyamada. When Raju refuses, they taunt Raju for not knowing Sanskrit. Then Raju, disguised as a Swami, says a few sentences in English and asks the two pandits for their meaning. When they don't answer, he counter-taunts them, saying, "If you don't know English, how will you know this meaning?" After this, the villager begins to respect Swamiji even more. Seeing themselves being insulted, the two local pandits return and ran away from there. The story of this film then moves into a flashback on Raju's scheduled release date. His mother, played by Leela Chitnis, and his girlfriend, whom he had changed from Roji to Nalini, played by Wahida Rahman, come to meet the jailer. The jailer informs them that due to his good conduct and behavior, Raju has been released from prison 6 months before his scheduled sentences of 2 years. The jailer tells Raju's mother that Nalini was abroad at that time and would not have known about this. But how you didn't know about it? He also expresses surprise that Raju has not arrived home yet. Raju's mother then begins to leave with a heavy heart, and Nalini, after telling the jailer, also begins to return. Nalini asks Raju's mother to take her home in her car, but Raju's mother refuses. She then grabs her feet, and Raju's mother tells her not to make a fuss. Nalini then tells her, if you don't get any my car and go with me, I will make even a bigger fuss. Hearing this, Raju's mother gets into Nalini's car and returns to her house. Nalini also comes in with her and says, you may harbor as much ill will toward me as you want, but I look at you with the complete goodwill because you are the mother of my lover, the man I am about to marry. She then recounts her story of how, despite being married, she dreams of marrying her unmarried son Raju. She explains that her mother was a brothel owner and ran a dance and music club. However, she does not want her daughter to be a prostitute. She encouraged me to attend a good college so that I could marry a wealthy man and escape the quagmire of brothel. But I was deeply connected to the music at the brothel, and however I followed my mother's. I practiced in classical dance competition. Fascinated by her beauty, a wealthy middle-aged archaeologist Marco, played by Kishore Sahu, comes to her mother to ask her hand in marriage. He makes the condition that she won't wear anklets or dance at his place. He marries her and brings her home. He owns a large luxurious mansion here equipped with all the luxuries of life. Despite all these comforts, she remains unhappy. The reason she is unhappy is that Marco does not have time to spend with her. He is always lost in the world of books and archaeological discoveries. One day Marco comes to Udaipur with his wife Rosie with the intention of exploring caves containing archaeological remains and taking Rosie around the city. Marco selects Raju as the guide for their trip to Udaipur. Raju borrows his friend Gafur's car to take Marco and his wife Rosie to Udaipur's famous site. Marco offers Raju to show only a few caves. Raju then takes him to a cave located a short distance away. Marco is fascinated by the cave and begins to delve into it, hoping to find archaeological remains. Raju then tells him to come back the next morning fully prepared, as the cave is located far from the city and in isolation, offers no food to satisfy hunger and bearing many kind of troubles as well. His wife Rosie also had no interest in the cave and wants to leave quickly. Marco reluctantly returns his camp in the city with everyone. The next day, when Raju arrives with Gafur to take the couple for a trip, he overhears Marco and his wife Rosie arguing from inside the room about the trip. Marco wants to go to the cave for an archaeological convention. His wife Rosie questions with he brought her along with. He was supposed to focus solely on his work. Marco replies that he will be taking her to the cave for his own business. If she does not want to go with him, she should stay back at the camp. Hearing this, Raju enters the room and explains to them that he will solve both their problems. He then takes Marco to the cave and leaves him with a local man. He then returns with Gafur to the camp to take Rosie for a trip to the city. When Rosie gets into the car, he stops the car near a large palace and begins reciting a few lines in praise of the palace. Rosie replies, I don't want to see this palace. If there is a snake charmer's colony nearby, take me there. Raju then takes Rosie to a snake charmer's colony. When Rosie arrives with Raju, a snake charmer first makes a snake dance to the tune of a bean. Then a girl there begins performing the snake dance. Seeing the girl performing the snake dance, Rosie joins in and after dancing for a long time, finally falls unconscious on Raju's body. Raju holds her and after she regains consciousness, takes her back to the camp. One day she asked Raju to buy her a pair of anklets with bells. After purchasing the anklet, she ties it to her feet and begins walking down the street, making a jingling sound. Seeing this, everyone stares at her, and some even approaches her intent to teasing her. Raju, seeing this, stops them from approaching her. He then requests Rosie to remove her anklet with bells. Rosie refuses and tells Raju that if he does not like it, he should walk to the other side of the road. Raju then starts walking to the other side of the road. After walking like this for a while, Rosie tells Raju, "Okay, I will agree to what you are saying." She then urges Raju to remove the anklet from her feet. Raju then ties the anklet and takes her with him to the camp. Marco is fascinated by this cave because it contains numerous murals and fragmentary stone sculptures. When Raju brings him to the cave the next day, Marco proudly tells Raju if he knows why no one else has taken an interest in the cave before. But before Raju could explain, Marco himself answers, saying it is because he himself has masterminded the creation of these caved artifices. He then tells Raju that he need not be discouraged because when he writes a book about this cave, he will mention him for helping him reach here. When Raju returns to his camp after leaving Marco at the cave, Marco's servant informs him that Rosie is unwell. The doctor is treating her. Hearing this, Raju goes inside and doctor tells him that Rosie had attempted suicide by taking sleeping pills. She needs special monitoring. When the servant tells Raju that he wants to go home, Raju asks the servant to wait a little longer and quickly goes to inform Marco, who is engaged in exploration work in the cave. Marco asks Raju to go back and take care of Rosie until he returns to the camp. While asleep, Rosie keeps mumbling about Marco's visit, but she does not see him that night. Seeing Rosie's condition, Raju stays in her room overnight to care for her. Late at night, when Rosie regains consciousness, she finds Raju there and asks what he is doing in her room so late at night. Raju tells her everything in detail, including how she attempted suicide by taking sleeping pills. The doctor told, "Keep an eye always on you," he said. "I even told your husband, Marco." Despite knowing everything, Marco hasn't come to sense her as yet. Then, finding her fully conscious, Raju leaves her room and sits on the veranda outside. The next day, when Marco returns to the camp from the cave and finds Rosie healed, he taunts her, saying, "You did not take the sleeping pills with the intention of committing suicide. You could have taken 2 or 3 more pills to end your life. You were just acting all this to be with me." Rosie replies, "I came here with you just to be with you. If I am going to stay alone in this tent after coming here with you, then what is missing from my own home?" Marco bluntly replies, "While I explore the cave, you can entertain yourself by taking this guide and exploring the local sites." Saying this, Marco returns to the cave to continue his exploration. After Marco returns from his trip to explore the cave, Rosie spends the day with Raju sightseeing, and upon returning to camp, she practices dancing with anklets tied to her feet. Seeing her dance, Raju encourages her by saying, "You dance well." Yes, this Rosie heartily praised, says that she has a great love for music and finds a strange joy in dancing. But Marco dislikes it at all. Raju encourages her by suggesting that she pursue her passion for dancing secretly in the Marco's absence. One day, Raju takes Rosie to the cave to show her the exploration Marco is doing. As they try to enter, a man accompanying Marco stops them. Raju then begins peeping inside through a crack in the cave. By then, Rosie arrives and also oversees the scenery from the crack. Seeing Marco having fun with a local girl, Reggie becomes enraged and tries to confront him inside the cave. Raju stops her and brings her back to the camp. Returning to the camp, Rosie, deeply saddened by Marco's behavior, once again contemplates suicide. This time she wants to jump off the roof, but Raju arrives and stops her from doing so. He then explains Rosie that suicide is a sin. Instead of committing suicide and being irritated with Marco, she spends her time pursuing her hobbies of music and dance. Rosie is deeply moved by Raju's words and completely disowns the idea of suicide. One evening, Rosie, fully dressed and wearing anklets, comes to meet Marco. When Marco is not in the cave, Rosie sneaks into the cave. When Marco arrives, she begins dancing and singing without revealing her face. Seeing a beautiful dancer dancing there, Marco's lust awakens and he abandons his work and comes to her. But the moment he sees the dancer's face, he becomes enraged at the sight of Rosie there. He then calls Rosie's dancing and singing in this manner, wearing anklets, a disgrace to his reputation, and equates it with prostitution. Rosie bluntly retorts, saying that just as he is pursuing his passion, she too is pursuing her. Marrying you don't mean you have to do whatever you want and I have to endure it silently. I cannot give up this hobby of mine anymore. Marco becomes enraged at this, slaps her hard and tells her to get out of his life. Rosie then scolds him and leaves. After a fight with Marco, Rosie decides to never go back to him again, but now she faces a major dilemma. Where should she go and what should she do? She remains lost in the dilemma when she remembers Raju, the guide who often encouraged her. Early in the morning, she arrives at Raju's house and describes in detail what happened to Marco. Then Raju takes her inside and tells her mother, "Look who's come to your house." When his mother asks Rosie for her introduction, Raju tells her everything and insists that Rosie live there from now onwards. His mother says that she has no objection to Rosie living here, but that her dancing and singing will not be acceptable to the locals. Raju nevertheless agrees to keep Rosie here. Due to Rosie's stay at Raju's house and her dancing with anklets tied to her feet, many outsiders gather near Raju's house. When Raju asks these people to leave, he often clashes with some of them. This continues to escalate. People look at Rosie's stay at Raju's house and her dance practices with disdain and then begins to hate her. Besides his mother, others also begins to ask Raju to expel Rosie from his house. Raju confronts them. In the process, his guide license is revoked. Even his friend Gafur abandons him after a quarrel. His financial situation also rapidly deteriorates, yet Raju does not expel Rosie from his house and continues to encourage her to dance. Seeing the state of the house, Raju's mother calls his brother who works in city. Raju's mother tells her brother everything. When he arrives, Raju's maternal uncle leaves his sister's side and goes to the part of the house where Rosie is practicing dances and Raju is encouraging her. Seeing this, Raju's uncle scolds Rosie and tells her to leave. Raju confronts him, saying that Rosie won't go anywhere. His maternal uncle becomes enraged, calls him useless, and threatens to take his sister with him. Raju then tells his mother she won't go anywhere and decides to go to work the next day. Hearing his maternal uncle's rebuke, Raju leaves for work the next day, but when he returns home in the evening, he finds his mother missing. He reproaches Rosie for not being able to stop her. Then Rosie says that she tried hard to stop her mother, but her maternal uncle caught hold of her hair and pushed her and forcibly took her mother away with him. Despite hearing all this, Raju keeps Rosie with him and urges her to practice her dance even harder. Meanwhile, Rosie and Raju fall in love. Rosie talks about marrying Raju and having child soon, but Raju refuses to commit to the marriage for a while. Raju gives Rosie a professional touch by purchasing beautiful clothes, anklets, and other accessories for her dance. He then takes Rosie to meet the organizer of a major dance event and claiming she is a famous dancer whom he has named Nalini, and asks them to invite her to the event. The organizer refuses, saying that they haven't heard of a dancer named Nalini before, so how can she be invited to such a major event to impress him. Raju, pretending that Rosie, whom he is promoting as Nalini, would be offended, politely asks Nalini to perform a dance scene. He then summons Nalini and politely requests her to give a brief glimpse of her dance. Nalini captivates the audience with her performance. Seeing this, the organizer of the dance festival invites her to the main event. Nalini's powerful performance at this main event makes her a star. Raju gets Nalini selected for dance shows after dance shows. This not only increases Nalini's fame, but the increased income also provides them with a car, bungalow, and other luxuries. Raju becomes so engrossed in making money by leveraging Nalini's fame that he overlooks Nalini's fatigue. He rarely meets Nalini anymore, and apart from signing contracts for Nalini's shows, spends most of his time drinking and gambling with his friends. Rosie, now Nalini, complains to Raju that he is solely focused on his work and money, and that he is not leaving her as much as he once was. She says that the love they once shared isn't there anymore. Raju ignores her and remains occupied with earning money through Nalini. One night, after gambling with his friends and drinking, he comes to Nalini's house, but Nalini forced her to leave. The next day, Raju approaches Nalini and asks if she won't give him a chance to reform. Nalini replies that she wants him to improve, but instead of improving, he is only getting worse. Meanwhile, Marco, reading about Nalini's fame in the newspaper, learns that Nalini is his wife, Rosie. He then visits her home to adopt her, but when Raju knocks on the door and comes out, he sees Marco. Marco wants to get inside and meet his wife, Rosie or Nalini. Raju stops him from doing so, insisting that he leave. If he doesn't comply, he threatens to have the guards push him out. Marco leaves with some thought in mind. One day, while Raju is in his office, a register arrives in his name. Opening the registry, he finds a book called The Cab, written by Marco. He finds a mention himself in the book. He then hides the book, fearing that reading it might make Nalini fall in love with Marco again. A man working in Raju's office mentions the book Marco sent to Nalini. Nalini then questions Raju about the secretive nature of the book, asking him to reveal his whereabouts. Raju, revealing his knowledge of the matter, storms out and sharply reprimands his servant, threatening to fire him if he doesn't anything or speaks to anyone without his consent. A few days later, a bank manager summons Raju to the bank and informs him of jewelry deposited in the Delhi branch of the bank in the name of Marco and his wife Rosie. He also informs him that Marco wants to close his account, making it mandatory to remove the jewelry from the locker. This requires Rosie's signature on the paper, which is currently known as Nalini, and will then be Marco's signature. Raju sees this as Marco's attempt to meet Nalini, and instead of getting Rosie or Nalini to sign the document, he keeps putting it off. When the bank manager wants to meet Nalini, Raju refuses to let him. The bank manager says, either get it signed or I will have to send this document to Rosie by registered post. Raju takes the document from the bank manager and instead of getting it signed by Roji, signed it himself and returns it to the bank manager. The bank manager sends it to his Delhi branch. When the document reaches the Marco from Delhi branch, Marco discovers the trick of someone else signing it and in the name of Roji instead of Roji's. He then reports the matter to the police. After this incident, Raju is often restless and seeks opportunities to be with Nalini. Meanwhile, Nalini is deeply upset by this change in Raju's behavior. One night, when Raju wants to sleep next to her, Nalini asks him to leave. Raju replies that he used to fall asleep next to her arm many times before resting his head on her lap. It is possible that he is starting to miss Marco now. Nalini then reports that Marco was right when he said that men should not live off one's money. Raju replies, "Do you think all this money is just yours? You knew how to dance before, but I taught you how to earn money from dance." Nalini replies, "I don't deny it, but Marco had plenty of money in his house too." Raju then goes to another room and sleeps. The next morning, when Raju goes to meet Nalini, he sees Nalini getting ready for a dance performance. Nalini ignores him and goes to her own. Hurt by Nalini's words, Raju also goes in search of work and returns home in the evening instead of going to Nalini's house. Having not seen Raju for a long time and having read the newspaper report of Raju and Nalini's separation, Raju's mother becomes anxious to visit Raju. Then his brother takes her along and prepares to visit Raju. Seeing that his blood had finally paid off and the dancer has now left him. Before his mother can visit him, one morning his friend, the police officer, comes to him. When Raju inquires about his well-being, he tells him, "Everything is fine for me, but trouble is about to happen for you." He then shows him a warrant and says, "I have been given the responsibility of executing this warrant." He then informs him that he has been accused of stealing Roji's jewelry by forging her signature. He also explains that according to the rules, I should have immediately taken you to the lockup. But as your friend, I suggest that if Roji accepts this signature as hers, these crimes can be acquitted. Raju then takes the paper from his friend, the police inspector, and goes to Nalini to tell her to sign it. When Raju goes to meet Nalini, she is about to perform at a dance show. Despite seeing Raju there and Raju's prompting, she leaves without meeting him there. She performs a dance, complaining of being deceived by her lover. Even after the show is over, Nalini goes home without meeting Raju. Then Raju's friend, the police inspector, arrests him and puts him in the lockup, and then the court sentences him 2 years imprisonment. When Raju is in jail, Nalini comes to meet him and says that she made a big mistake by not accepting the signature as hers. In anger, then she leaves the place, saying that she will come to pick him up on the day of his release. Seeing his good conduct, the jail administration releases him from the jail 6 months before the completion of his sentence. You know the entire story after this, saying that she will tell you something. One day, Swami Raju tells a story to the village children. The entire village gathers to listen. In this story, Swamiji tells how during a famine in a village, a monk practiced hot yoga for 12 days without eating or drinking. This brought rain to the village. A few days later, the village where Swami Raju was living also experienced a famine. People were starving and many died of hunger. People even attacked a money lender's house, beat him, and looted all his grains. Then he became increasingly violent over the division of the grain. When a man brought food for Swamiji and informed him about the incident. Swamiji sent word to stop the violence, saying that if the villagers did not stop the violence, he would not eat. Upon receiving Swamiji's message, the villager remembered the story he had told them and began to beg him to bring rain to the village by practicing Hatha Yoga while fasting. After the villagers left, Swamiji told Bhola that he had told him many times before that he was not a Swamiji but a normal human being like all these people. Bhola replied that if he remained at the temple for the sake of so many people's faith, God would surely bring rain. Forced to do so, Swamiji agreed, but he became extremely hungry the very first day. Frightened, he began to run away from the temple. The next day, on the way, he encountered the two village priests who questioned him about his intention. The two priests provoked the villagers by saying, "Look, Swamiji is running away." Hearing this, the villagers enraged went inside the temple and found Swamiji fasting. Upon seeing Swamiji, the two priests fled. Swamiji's practice of Hatha Yoga to bring rain to the village becomes widely discussed. Even a foreign journalist publishes an interview with Swamiji. After reading this interview, people from far and wide come to see Swamiji. Raju's friend Gafur also come to Raju, but when the villagers refuses to allow him inside the temple because he is a Muslim, Raju, disguised as Swamiji, goes to tell them to let Gafur come inside. Raju's mother, at the hearing from some people, also comes to see Swamiji. She is overwhelmed by the sight of Raju and stays there. Nalini, having read the news about Swamiji, also comes to meet Raju as Swamiji. Here she meets Raju, repenting for his condition and begins to care for him. Meanwhile, Swamiji's condition worsens day by day due to his fasting. An internal conflict also arises between the spiritual Raju as Swamiji and the human Raju, but in this interplay, spiritual Raju prevails and persists in his fast. Meanwhile, a villager brings him his fainted child to Swamiji's shelter and prays for his life. Swamiji prays to God to take the child's life, his life, and give it to the child's life. God listens to Swamiji's prayer and not only gives the child life but also causes heavy rain to fall on the village. Seeing the rain, everyone rejoices. Nalini too watches this scene and runs to Raju, informing him that God has heard him. But by then Raju or Swamiji has passed away on this earthly path and he passes away. Nalini then takes the sand off his feet and keep it his head. With the scene of this, the story of Film Guide ends.